The Champions League spots in the Premier League are all but filled. Juventus are planning for a big summer of transfer business. Jose Mourinho could be in line for a shock return to football. There's a roundup of all the day's transfer rumours, and of course, we look back on your Friday feels. There are more coming up in the next few minutes, as I am your host, Matt Froelich. You're with the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. But before we get into the Daily News, again, a quick reminder of the latest release on the OneFootball app. Together with 11 Sports, customers in the UK and Ireland can now watch selected La Liga matches along with 11 Sports. For just £2.99 or €3.49, all you have to do is go to the relevant match page, click buy now, and you'll be charged through your iTunes or the Play Store. But with that said and done, let's get straight back into the Daily News. So first off, onto the penultimate matchday weekend in the Premier League, where it looks like nobody wants the top four positions. Well, maybe Chelsea do. Basically, I don't think I've ever remembered a time where four teams who are competing to represent England in Europe's top competition just keep failing at the final hurdle. The likes of Arsenal and Manchester United both find themselves outside of the top four. Arsenal have only the slimmest of hopes, where United are out altogether. That means that they haven't managed to chase down the Spurs side, who have only picked up 11 points out of the last 33 available. So there are teams that are just doing worse than one another, and they all seem to be throwing it away. Over the weekend, Spurs put in a shocking performance in their 1-0 defeat to Bournemouth, including 2 red cards. Both of which were red cards, to be honest. They completely lost their head. So it went over to Man United to close the gap. They then drew to Huddersfield. After that, it then went over to Chelsea, and they actually managed to beat Watford, which secured them a top 4 position, as Arsenal could only draw at home to Brighton. This means that Chelsea are definitely in the top 4, as I mentioned. Manchester United are definitely out, and Arsenal are 3 points behind Tottenham with 1 game to go. Now, they can finish on the same amount of points as Spurs. However, right now, their goal difference is plus 20, where Spurs is plus 28, meaning that an 8-goal swing, very unlikely on the final day of the season, is the only way which will see Arsenal into the top 4, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. This means that along with Cardiff filling the last relegation spot over the weekend, the Premier League has the small matter of the title to decide on the last match day. This is all down to Manchester City. Now, with Liverpool winning over the weekend against Newcastle, City now need to beat Leicester tonight and win against Brighton on the weekend. And whatever Liverpool do, it doesn't matter, because the title is in Manchester City's hands. It's kind of odd that everything is decided with those two going into the final of the season, but it promises to be a thrilling encounter. If City can beat Leicester tonight, that is. Now, next up to some transfer news from Italy, where apparently media outlet Tuttosport are claiming that Juventus have a big summer ahead of them, including 3 huge transfers on the in list. First off, there's Paul Pogba from Manchester United, their former player who they're trying to tempt back to the black and white. Second off, there's Matthijs De Ligt, the man who's been heavily linked with a move to Barcelona or Bayern Munich, but Juventus hoping to steal him from Ajax. And lastly but not least, there's Isco. Now, Juventus seem to have made plans for all of those 3, but also if they fail to get any of them, they've also made backup plans as well. If they don't manage to get Paul Pogba, they'll be looking at Lyon's Tanguy Ndombele. If they don't manage to get Isco, they could be bringing in James Rodriguez. And if they can't get Matthijs De Ligt, well, they're just pretty much screwed, as they've really got anyone else lined up. Of course, signing all 3 of these will be a ridiculous amount of money. If you put together Pogba, De Ligt and Isco, you're probably looking at over €300 million for all of them. This is because Pogba is going to cost around 120 to 130. De Ligt is going to go to whoever is the highest bidder, because his agent's Mino Raiola, and Isco is not exactly going to go cheap, even though he's not really in the forefront of Real Madrid's plans at the moment. They'd be better off, to be honest, going for the likes of Ndombele or even Adrien Rabiot, who's going to be on a free transfer at the end of the season. Of course, James Rodriguez probably won't go back on loan again, but Real Madrid don't want it back. Bayern Munich don't want to keep him, so he may go for a rather cheap fee to Juventus. And next up is some rather shocking news if it does happen, and Jose Mourinho could be back in football management next season with Celtic in the Scottish Premier Division. Now, Celtic are absolutely running the division at the moment. Over the weekend, they managed to secure their 8th straight title, and they are now 2/3 of the way this season to completing the treble. If they do, it will be a treble of trebles, meaning that Celtic would have won each of the last 9 domestic trophies available in Scotland. All they have to do is win the Scottish Cup final. Apparently, Jose Mourinho is interested in the PSG job should Thomas Tuchel be relieved of his post. That doesn't look so likely at the moment, despite their horrific end to the season, during which they lost the French Cup final and they've crawled over the line to the Ligue 1 title. If that doesn't happen though, Mourinho may be tempted to a move to Celtic, although it's highly unlikely given the fact they're already running their domestic division. The only thing that Jose Mourinho can do is go in there and meet expectations. He can't succeed. All you have to do is win the title. Once you've done that, you've met expectations. If you don't, you're a massive failure, and I think even Mourinho can manage to pull that off. In the Champions League, yeah, he may be able to take Celtic a little bit further, some shock results here and there. Getting out of the group stage is ridiculously difficult, and even though Mourinho is a good manager despite what happened at Manchester United, when it comes to competing against the biggest and best teams in Europe with ridiculous budgets and unbelievable players, Celtic just cannot match up to it. So I can't really see Mourinho moving there. If he does, it'll be a pretty big shock, and as for Scottish football, well, it'll be a massive boost overall. But next up, we come to a roundup of all the day's transfer news as we edge ever closer to the transfer window opening. First off, and if Spurs sell Christian Eriksen, they're interested in Ajax's Donny van de Beek for around £45 million. Barcelona have set their sights on Arsenal forward Alexander Lacazette for around £70 million. As well as this, Arsenal have said they won't be offering Danny Welbeck a new contract, and he had his leaving due along with Petr Cech and Aaron Ramsey yesterday. And lastly but not least, Napoli manager Carlo Ancelotti has admitted that they're interested in signing Kieran Trippier and Irving Lozano. So lastly but not least, we come to a roundup of your day's Friday feels. This is where you guys left all your footballing predictions in the comment section in Friday's daily news. Now, of course, we can't read all of them out to every you who got them right, so congratulations if you did, but here are just a few of them. First off, and Deadpoolio guessed that Barcelona would lose to Celta Vigo after rotating their side, which they did 2-0. Benj74 guessed that Frankfurt would lose to Leverkusen, which also happened 6-1. And Otto Larsen Weget said that Bayern Munich would win over the weekend with Dortmund dropping points, which they did in a 2-2 draw to Bremen, all but handing the title to Bayern Munich with just a few games to go. So there you have it for all of today's daily news. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, of course, and what will happen in the closing stages of the Premier League season. Do you think any of these transfer rumours will be happening over the summer as well? As I mentioned, let me know your thoughts down below. Smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos that we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.